refresh what we cover on Monday and Tuesday very, very quickly. First of all, on Monday, we were just reviewing theoretical concepts regarding the grants management module in Umoja. The main master data involved related to grants and related to, for example, to cost management, to funds management, or to project, because as you can see in the grants management module, many elements are involved that not are only related to grants. We have internal orders, we have projects, we have funds. So we were reviewing all the master data that is involved in the process. And what we did, we saw a small scenario related to the framework 1. So yesterday we started implementing this scenario in the system, in Umoja system. As you can see, the scenario is the one that we have here. Let's review it very quickly. Maybe it's boring for you that I'm repeating this very, very often, but it's good for you because there are many steps and I want you to be very aware of everything that you need to do in the system or that it's needed to do in the system. We have a donor agreement here with some amount of money to be in our system. What do we have to do? We have to create, first of all, if it's not already created, an sponsor program. We did it yesterday, and if I may, let me show you. We are going to review a little bit, and we will take, if you have doubts regarding any of the steps that we did yesterday, you have the chance to ask again. GM program, we are going to review this sponsor program that we created yesterday. It's there, just let me check, 56. This program is a program that contains the aim of this grant, of this contribution. So this is a training for Syria, and what more do we have to type here in additional data tab. It's a framework 1, it's an humanitarian affairs project, and the fund that is, let's say, taking care of this grant is the 32 DDN. So this is the main information that we have to type in our sponsor program. Very important here, sorry, thank you, Danny. I will show the T code. GM program, it's used to create or to display a sponsor program. So we did create this sponsor program in our system. Here we are. Next step that we did yesterday, we created an S1 type of grant. Why S1? Because this agreement, we have only one donor, and the contribution of this donor is done in US dollars. So let's go to the system, and let's review the main information that we typed when we created the grant. This grant, just let me type it. The T code to create or display a grant is GM grant. And our grant is S1 141. This is our grant. Information that we have to tell is the type of grant is very important. The sponsor that is going to contribute to this funded project or this this training for Syria, to help the refugees in Syria, and very important as well, the amount that is in US dollars. What else? The valid to and valid from date. More things. Reference. Here we have it. Oh, this information disappeared. I don't know why. No, oh, it's not there. Okay, but this information is the main thing here is the dates when the donor signs the agreement, when UN signed the agreement, the donor agreement start date and donor agreement end date. These are internal and external reference, the amount again, reference to the funding origin, very important substantive office that is managing this grant, and the fund, the external fund involved in the process. So these fields of here were already populated. I don't know what happened. We will check later on. More things. Responsibilities. We have to check. This is automatically populated by the system that the GM budget approver and release is here, and the GM budget the user and the release and unreleased budget are here, the approvers, both approvers. They didn't touch budget. Okay, here we just decided or checked the splitting rule. And as you can see, we didn't see this yesterday, and it's very good that we review it today, because you see, yesterday this window was empty. What do we have today? Where did we stop yesterday? We reached the point of creating and approving the unreleased budget. So you can see here that this square is green, this step has been done, but the release of the budget has not been done yet. This is what we are going to do today. We will continue with the process. Okay. More things. Billing. This is very important as well, because remember, let me go back to this process. Apart from creating the grant, we linked it with the sponsor program, and we created a revenue internal order that is a specific type of internal order, especially for the grants process, especially created. So we have an internal order to track the revenue, and this is the way to do it in this grants management module. So we created this revenue internal order and link it to the grant. This revenue is intended to receive the money coming from the contribution coming from the donor. So we created this revenue internal order and link it to the grant. Once we did this step, an automatic sales order is generated in the system and populated here. You don't have to create a sales order. But the grants management approver has to unblock the sales order because it's created block because it's automatically done in the system, review, unblock, and bill this sales order to create a receivable in our accounting, in our revenue account, that will be the contribution of the donor. So we need to have this, let's say, money or this contribution in our system before start budgeting, start spending this money. So this sales document is automatically generated, and the next step would be to bill this sales order. Okay. More things regarding our grant dimensions. This screen is one of the most important. You have to be very aware of what you are doing. So let me refresh very quickly as well. Any question up to this point? Everything okay? Okay, this is just a review. Okay, so we added the three funds that are going to be involved in the process. In this case, the external, the auxiliary, and the internal. I mentioned yesterday that in this specific framework one, where we don't have an implementing partner, this situation, this agreement that we invented, we don't need the auxiliary grant. But in real life, you know that a grant is alive, a project, many changes can happen, so it's good, it's safe for you if you add it here, because maybe at one stage of the process there is an implementing partner that is going to take care of some part of the project or whatever, so you will need to add it then. So if you put it here, it's just safe for you to have it. So we added these ones, and this one related to this auxiliary this internal fund, we check the IDC recovery, because in this process there is going to be some IDC recovery. So we will check this checkbox. More things. Sponsor programs. By default, the system is defaulting here some sponsor programs, but you have to add yours, the ones that you created for this grant. So we have here our sponsor program, and this is the way how we link this grant to our sponsor program. Here, sponsor classes. The sponsor classes are some classes very close or very related to the FM classes that will allow us to distribute properly the budget according with the donor agreement. Some of these classes will be, let's say, for some of these classes, the IDC will be applicable. So at this stage, we have to select for which classes the IDC is going to be applicable. In our example, we decided to select contract services, vehicles, and I think other costs and operations. So these three classes will be selected here because IDC will be applicable for them. And here we select, very important as well, the type of grant, let's say, S1 that we are creating, and based on this, these windows will be pre-populated, okay? What else? Supported objects, very important. And we had one question regarding this supported object selection. What do we have to do in this screen? We have to select the sponsor classes that are going to be budgeted in this grant process or in this grant implementation, according always with the donor agreement. So here you will select the classes that will be budgeted. Very important. Here you have the system pre-defaults, all the combination of all the funds we have, all the sponsor programs that we have, and all the classes is a matrix, a huge matrix. There is no way here, or at least we don't know it. If you know it, please, or if you know there is a way, it would be very nice to share it, but I'm afraid that there is no any to filter, to make our life easier, because to allow the budgeting of the specific sponsor classes, we have to look for our fund, external fund, 32 DDN, and our sponsor program. Let me find it out. And in this, these are the classes that we have to select, the ones related to our fund and our sponsor program. So you can get crazy scrolling down and up. Here we are. You see? Here they start, and here are the ones that we check. If you make a mistake here, the budgeting will not be properly done. You will not be able to create the unreleased budget properly. And that, of course, if the unreleased budget is not created properly, the released budget will not be possible. The release of the budget or the allocation of the budget in the different classes. So be very careful when you perform this step, that you select your external fund, your sponsor program, and for this, the classes that will be budgeted. And something very important as well, we added the three classes that we are going to budget: vehicles, contract services, and other other costs. And we selected one extra class that is called PCS. Let me find it out. I hope it is selected, because here it is. Program support costs. This class will collect the calculation of the IDC applicable for each one of the three classes that we told in this previous screen that are subject to IDC. Okay? So, let me show you here. In this stage, we will tell the system, okay, for AS1 contract as services, we will apply a 13% of indirect rate. For this other one, 13%, for this other one, 13%. So this class will calculate the 13% of each of these classes and will budget it here, assigned to this class. Because this money has to be considered as well, the cost of the project. In the unreleased budget, it's very easy to see as we did yesterday, but I just want you to know why we selected this class. We did a class where these costs will be, cost of IDC will be budgeted, okay? So this is the PSC project support cost that we select. What else? These percentages that I mentioned, the classes that are subject to IDC, we have to indicate which percentage we are going to apply. All of this information is coming from the donor agreement. I repeat because it's very important. Okay, and what else? Just let me, I think the terms and conditions is the last screen. We specify that this agreement is going to be Sess conditional. When we will close the grant and the process will finish, the unspent balance will be returned to donor, and the main reports that we are going to extract are these two types of reports. We will cover the reports part in a different session. So this is our S grant. Very important again to remember that these IDC topics, these percentages, and the classes that we are going to budget during the process of the life cycle of the grant. Okay? Question?
Not really, just a comment. I think it's what you're doing. I know that you're repeating this thing all over, but it's I think from my humble opinion, it's quite important, because once you create the shell of master data for the grants management, or the grant in this case, if you do understand what is stored in every single tab over there, you will be able to really troubleshoot on the road if you do experience some problems, right, in terms of whether the checkbox were in the sponsor classes, whether the indirect costs were applicable, whether the dates were wrong or not, and to double check all those data with the agreement itself. So the more time you spend here, I think that the more time, the fewer the mistakes down the road will occur in the future. Over to you.
Okay. Thank you, Daniel. Yes, I think, and especially as we mentioned yesterday, for some of you, it's the first time that you see a grant in Umoja system, in many information to be populated, so it's easy to get lost, to get confused, but please ask whatever you need, okay? We are here to help you. Okay, so this is our grant. Let's go back this diagram and let's continue. So this is what we did. We created an S1 grant, an internal order for revenue, to receive this money from the donor, and the system automatically generated a sales order. So at this stage, the GM approver performed the billing process. We created our receivable in our revenue account, and then the unreleased budget is created. What is an unreleased budget? It's the way to allocate or to adapt the amount that the donor is contributing in the different sponsor classes. How are we going to spend this money? This unreleased budget is not really committed or pre-committed in the system. This is just a kind of planning that will be the pre-step before releasing the budget. The release of the budget, that is what we are going to do today, will be already impacting the distribution of the budget, but this is only a kind of planning. I put the money red, is like kind of cannot be used yet, it's a kind of planning. So before releasing the budget, we need an expenses internal order created in our system, okay, and properly linked to our sponsor program and our grant. So once we have the expenses internal order, this is the step that in the system, in the training environment, is not creating automatically the funded program to be linked to the sponsor program. So when you will reach here, just let us know and we will create it for you. So once this is done, and in production, in real life, you will forget about this, will be automatically done. We will allocate or we will release this budget in the specific classes that we specified when we created the grant. We will release this budget, and this budget will be ready to be spent. This is what we are going to do now in the system. Is the last missing step that we created, and it's very important to release the budget to establish the grant spending authority. The main purpose of this releasing is just to be sure that this spending of the contribution is done or in accordance with the donor requirements. And very, very important thing as well, the billing has to be completed before releasing the budget. And moreover, the receipt of the cash should be done as well. Why? Because maybe you have performed the billing, but the cash itself has not been received yet. And then when you try to consume this budget or to allocate this budget, this cash is not received, you will receive a cash error. Cash, you know, we have several layers in the Umoja system. Maybe it's budgeted and it's properly done, but the cash is not there, so you will receive a cash error. So it's very important that before performing the release of the budget, the billing has been done, of course, and the cash has been received, let's say, really in the bank account. Okay. So let's go to the system. I think everybody is with me, and we are going to release the budget. Remember that yesterday we created the unreleased one with the calculation of the IDC. So let me log out because I was logging with my own user, but I don't want you to lose track on it. So who is going to do the release of the budget? There is a specific role in the system that is called GM budget release. Let me confirm exactly something like that. Is the GM release budget user. This is the exact name. So this is the user that is going to create the release of the budget that will be approved by an approver. So let me type this user, T3. No, maybe I type something from T3, TSR, BU001, BU, missing the U, BU001, okay. Hopefully, yeah, here we are. So we are going to release the budget that we previously, let's say, created as unreleased. So this T code to do that is the GM DDGT underscore release. Okay, if you can check the T code right here. And we are going to enter this drop-down list. We will select enter related to our grant, our S grant is the one. Okay. Doc type, let's open the different options. We are going to budget donor fund release. So we'll select this option. Description, let's say emergency response area. And the budget version is the first release that we do is 0. Why 0? Remember that the budget can be unreleased or released, not everything at the budget. Imagine that you have more than one donor, you want to release the budget or the contribution related to only one donor. This can be done partially. That's why we select version 0. In this case, we are going to release the whole amount, because if you remember the scenario that we created for the exercise, this is a very easy, it's a workshop, so we are going to release the whole money here. Okay? And these are the numbers that we created yesterday. I don't know if you remember this total and net amount that we covered yesterday when we created the unreleased budget. Here by default is appearing the total, because yesterday we told the system we want to work with total amounts, but it can be changed to net amounts as well. But this information is coming already from the unreleased budget. That's why it's very important to do it, because it's a previous step. So all the amounts are already calculated. We just have to release this budget. And if you have further doubts or concerns on these IDC calculations, net amounts, total amounts, tomorrow we will create a framework tool with our grants, new type of grants, with an implementing partner, whatever, and we will repeat the steps of our releasing the budget. So think about it, and we can go deeper at this stage, because it's a little bit, at the first time you see it is not easy to understand. So if you want tomorrow, we will go deeper. Today, we are going to release this budget. How do we release this budget? We are going to release the total amount. First step, we are going to type here for this class AS1 contract services, that is the first line here. We are going to release the whole amount. So we will come here and we will type the whole amount that we are going to release, that is everything. It's 15. Okay. So here we are. And if, as you can see in this screen, we have, let's say, two windows. Here, we could say that this is the grant window, and here is the funds window. So you see here, you have the commitment items, everything split it. So we are going to work now for the first class. This step is a little bit not user-friendly, so please pay attention. We select the first line, 10 line, and here you see we have the 4 lines as well. We are going to put this budget inside our fund management system. So we have selected here, but we have to adjust here the amounts. As you can see, we have 3 years. Because the validity of the grant, I don't remember the date that's recovered, but it comprises 3 years. So, okay. So here we have the fiscal years. So what we are going to do, we are going to release this amount of budget for, we cannot do this, I think during the current budget period. So in this case, we are going to release in 2019, okay? Because we are in 2019 and we are going to spend all this budget in 2019. So we will forget about these 2 first lines in this example, and we will type here 99115. Okay, so sorry. Okay, because some information is missing. So we have the amount here, but we have to provide the system more information. To which fund center, functional area, and fund program. There is a tip here. If you double click in this square, in any of the 3 of them, oh, it's not coming yet. No, it's not the window I wanted because we have, okay. So the information should appear because this is coming from the sponsor program. In this case, it's not coming because probably we have only one. But we already know the fund center for which it is going to be done is the 11125. Okay. Functional area. Let me check if now it's coming. No, it's not appearing. Sometimes it comes pre-populated there. Okay. So our functional area is 27 AA 0001. 0001, sorry. And the funded program is the one that was linked to the internal order that we created for expenditures. Okay, this is the one that we have to generate for you guys because sometimes it's not created automatically, and this is in our case 11601861. Let me open a new window for you because I want you to link things. Let's go to the sponsor program again. That we, I don't know what I typed. GM program. Oh my God! Yeah, because now I'm logging. Yeah, now I am logging as a grant budget. Sorry, release user. And I cannot check the sponsor program, but I will show you now when I will log in. This information is the one that yesterday, I don't know if you remember, when we link the expenses internal order to our sponsor program, this is the information that we provided, these fields. So this information should come from there. Again, it's not coming, but maybe it's the training environment. If you click to this square, you should be all the information ready to be selected. Okay, so here we are. And as you can see now, we provided the amount here, the exact amount that we are going to release for 2019, the Fund Center Functional Area and Funded Program, and very important, distribution key. Distribution key refers to, you have 12 main periods. This refers to the month where the posting is going to be done. In this case, we are in February. We will select the second period, referring to February, is when we are going to allocate this budget for this, let's say, financial year, okay? And I think that's it. In fact, as you can see here, now our box is green. That means that this budget has been properly released, the amounts are the same, and all the information needed is created. Okay, so we have already created this release for this class. Let's jump into the second one, 20. When I double click here, you see this window is refreshing and changing. So, okay, what are we going to do? Again, we are going to release. Let me display the whole amount because I don't see it. We are going to release this whole amount, 132,743.36, okay, from the grants, let's say, layer to the funds layer. So we have, you see now, this is unbalanced because we have to allocate this money somewhere here. So let's go here, and again, we have 3 years. We are going to allocate it for 2019. Again, the same amount, 743.36. Question?
Yes.
Okay.
Now we are actually going to allocate for the third fiscal year, right? Because the grant started in 2017. Now we are in 2019, so we can allocate. We cannot allocate for a previous year already. That's the reason behind.
Budget period is the same.
Okay. So questions on can we partially release the budget, like not the whole amount, but another amount?
Thanks a lot for your question, because in this case we created the example and we are doing this in the very last minute. But imagine that we created the grant today and it will finish in 2021. So we can release some part of the budget to be spent in 2019, some part of the budget to be spent in 2020, some part of the budget to be spent, let's say, in 2021. The system will only allow you to release for the current budget, but we can go again and create a new release of the budget. We can, of course, release it partially. Is it clear? In this case, as I mentioned, we created for 2019 and we are in 2019, but in a real life, you could release partial or some part of this budget. Okay, so, and we will see, moreover, in Framework 2 that we can release it to different projects or WVSE. We will see it. In this case, it's very simple. It's a Framework 1. We only have one expenditures internal order and one funded program linked to it. But in Framework 2, we will have a bigger scenario, and we will see how to select exactly where do you want to allocate this budget. Okay, so let's check now here if we are lucky. No, not again. So, sorry, because it was working. Again, the fund center, the functional area, 27AA0001, and the funded program, it's this one, 1160. I think I wrote something. 1160-1861. And I typed something wrong again. 27AA 000 I don't know what I'm typing. 27AA 0001. Yeah. Yes, let me, because as I mentioned yesterday, the screen is very far from me. I don't see properly what I'm typing. 00. Ah, aquí está. A hidden one. Yes, let me. 27. 27880001 is the correct one. Let me delete it and type it again, because maybe there is something hidden in behind. Close this one. And maybe one space. 880001. Yeah, there we are. So again, this second line for this equipment, vehicle, and furniture, we have already moved, let's say, this amount and allocate it in our funds management system. So let's jump into the third line to the AS1 operator cost, and I think I can do it very quickly now because it's exactly the same process. We are going to release the whole budget, and we will use this red, and we will allocate it here in the 2019 year 15743.36 in the month of February will be posted this set 002, and again a pity that is not deriving because it would be easy. 27880001 and you, yep, 11601861. So it's green, and we are going now to budget this IDC or program support cost. The same exactly situation, 57522.13. You see here what happened to me now. I'm going to explain you because it's good. These are tips that you will understand. What is happening here? I should have everything empty to be able to allocate it. What is happening? That I am not in the correct budget line. I'm here working with the fourth one. Here I have selected the third one. What to do? First option, double click here, and it will be automatically populated, or come here and select the one that we want. Okay, so again, the 2019, the budget will be 57522.13 and will be posted in the month of February, period 2, set 002, and I think, okay, functional area 27AA 0001, and the internal order is 11601861. So here we go. Everything is green, sorry, so it's good news for us, and everything is properly. If there is a different view, because it's very easy to make a mistake when you are typing the amounts, it's like all finance transactions. If it is not balanced, you will see some red signs. Be aware of this. And very important, these amounts have to be the same as these ones here. For example, this one has to be here, this one, but not equal to this one. In this case, it is because we release everything. But as Daniel asked, we could release partially. The important thing is that the partial amount that we are releasing is the same that the one that we are allocating in the funds management layer, let's say, okay? So these amounts, this column, equal to these ones here. Is it clear? The creation of the release budget. So we are going to pre-post it. But you see, I forgot to select one distribution key, and I know that it was in line 3 because I was not checking. This is very good. So let's go to line number 3. I think it was this one. Oh, it is. So then it's the 2. It's selected. Let me check the 10. Oh, it's done. Sorry, because it's not refreshing. double clicking here. Here we are. You see, in the third one, you see, no, it's the second one. We have to add the proper period. Let me review all of them. The 10th is done, the 20th is done, 30th. You have to check that all this information is populated, and the fourth line is done. Now I think it's ready to be, we can check first and pre-post. Let's check. Warnings, we have warnings, maybe due to the training environment. With the process, select, yes, yeah, we have a couple of warnings, I don't know, but this is, you know, the training environment, but we can already pre-post. Very important, guys, I didn't mention before when we were talking about the exercises. When you will create the exercises or reproduce these exercises in the system, write down all your IDs of your documents, the ID of the revenue internal order of your grant, because you will have to send us later on these numbers for us to check that you did the work properly. Okay? Thank you, Danny. He's giving me the number because I cannot read it. So we have our release budget document created and pre-posted in the system. Last step, the approver will have to approve it. That's it. So let's log in now as the release budget approver. This credential is me. You know how to approve documents for sure better than me, but let's do it in the system because RB approver 001. Okay, so let's go here to the business workplace in the invoice. This one, 191. Here we are. What should the approver do? So we always repeat, review what the user created, because sometimes, you know, something can happen, but it looks very nice. We just did it in the system. We are quite sure that it's correct. The first line, the second line, you see. Now we don't have the lines that have not been budgeted. You remember that we have 2017, 2018, 2019. Here are not appearing. Only the ones budgeted are appearing. Yeah, and we can review each of them. It's properly done, so we can approve this document. So now, from this moment on, we have this money budgeted in our system and ready to be spent. How? Let me show you again this diagram that we created. How? Buying equipment, traveling, hiring staff. It depends on the project. It depends on the aim of this contribution. And this will be the grant execution that will consume this budget that was previously contributed by our donor. And when all the operations will be performed, we will close our grant. Again, repeat, reporting during the whole process or the life cycle of the grant is important and needed, especially for our donors. Okay, so we have complete, I don't know how you feel, guys, a whole framework one in the system, the implementation, of the grant. Then the consumption, you know how it works, and the closure, we will see it in a incoming session. So if you agree, what we are going to do now is to view, because we mentioned in the first, any question before I move ahead, Danny?
No, just a couple of attendees who gave me the internal order, so we can unblock in the batch process that it actually is not actually coming automatically in the training environment. So we can do that in the break, and then they have their internal order or funded program available for them to work. Okay.
Okay. So, and I have to tell you guys that I'm really impressed and happy, because if you are at this stage of creating the expenditures, the internal order, you are almost done. And that means that you perform properly the whole exercise. If you are released the budget properly, for me, is one of the most difficult steps, and is difficult to understand. So I'm very happy. I'm very happy that you are working. So it's good. It's good. So during the break, we will create this for you guys, for you to finish or to end up the exercise. So what I was explaining is, if you agree, we had just let me share my screen. We had a presentation for a project, because as we saw the first day, the project is one, let's say, module in Umoja that is closely to the grants. Why? Because most of the times the intention, or these grants are intended to support specific projects. So it's very important that you know how to create projects in the system. So we have prepared a presentation for you, project management, very brief one, because remember that this is a refresher. So the presentation is very short with a very summarized information. So I'm not going to go through it, because if I go through it, we will not have time to go into the system and create our own project. So what I'm going to do is just tell you a few key concepts that you have to know about the project. And then after the break, we will jump into the system again, and we will create a project. It's very easy one. You will see it's very repetitive process. So once you learn how to create one level, everything is done in the same way. And you will be sent today this same exercise for you yourself to create a project in the system. As we did with the first exercise, it's better that you look what we are doing, because you will have the chance to do it yourself afterwards. And I think it's really important you know how to create it. Maybe you will never have to create projects, but you know how to do it, just in case. So just very quickly, before the break, what is a project? Here we are talking about, Umoja project management module. It is used to manage contribution to funded activities. And we could say that the project is mainly a representation in the system of a funded activity that is split in levels to help us, or to help us to better handle a set of activities that need to be tracked individually. These activities can be implemented by multiple responsible cost centers, funded by multiple grants, and address multiple functional areas. So this is mainly a project, a representation in the system of a funded activity, split by levels to make our life easier to handle, and to to help us as well to make decisions in a better and effective way, and identify bottlenecks and risk. Because, for example, this activity is taking or is consuming a lot of resources, a lot of budget, whatever, so we can track in a better way. Let's see an example, okay, master data. We will see it now. The project has mainly two components. Let's say the project definition or project profile is where we specify the project name, the project start and end dates, and the WVS elements that you heard about them because they are cost objects as well. They are used to organize the hierarchy, and they refer to specific activities. Okay, let's see how a project likes, more or less. Here we have an example of a project. We have a single definition of a project definition, and one level one that, as you can see, they should be mainly the same. Very important, the budget usually is assigned or applied at this level one project level. Why? Because this is more flexible. If you assign the budget to this level, this budget can be consumed in all these activities. If you go and assign the budget to this level 2, it could be only spent in these two activities that are pending on depending on this level. Do you understand? So it's safer and more flexible if the budget assignment is done at level 1, so you have more options to how to distribute this budget. Okay. And very important, up to 4 levels of activities we can find in a project. And very, very important one, the expenditures or expenses are posted at the lowest level of the project. Okay, this is where we will see now with the example when we will create the framework 2. Each project as well requires at least one budget control WVSE to receive the budget allotment. This case could be this one. So it's important, and when we will define this budget control WVSE, the system will trigger the creation of a funded program in FM, linked to this WVSE element. Let's go. How do we name these WVS elements? Let me show you. We will create it in the system. It's very easy to see. We create a project, and this project is identified with one, let's say, SP is always a number. The level 1 is identified exactly with the same ID, and then we start created projects. This one here would be, as you can see, SB 14.01, only one level, and this one .02. If we would have more level 2 WVSEs, it would be 1403, 1404, whatever. Okay. So for this 1401, we are splitting this, let's say, level in 2 simple activities. The first one will have 1401 because it's coming from this one, and 01 because it's the first one. And the second one, 1401, because it's, let's say, the sum, or depending on this previous one, 02. I think it's easy to understand how these IDs are generated by the system. So here you know that you are at level 3 because you have .01, this is referring to the level 1, sorry, to the level 2, and .02, the second sum of this WVSE element. Let's see it with a concrete example. Project example Grid Ape Survival. This SB05. It is split in 2 main say activities: the protection of critical sites and the national and international dialogue. So this will be the ID of the WVSE. The previous level split it 01. Previous level split it 02. This protection of critical sites is split into more concrete activities like poaching, anti-poaching activities, or partnership with local population. So this will be the first zone of this WVSE, and this will be the second zone of this WVSE. I think more or less is clear, but as I mentioned, when we will do it in the system, it's easy for you to identify. And I think we are not going to, you will receive this presentation. These are the main things that you have to take into consideration when you are creating a project in the system, but we are going to see it right now. And then the different statuses of a project, and how to create a cost plan. We are going to do it as well in the system. Do you remember when we were telling about the unreleased budget? When we create the unreleased budget, that if there is a project involved in this grant or in this contribution, this unreleased budget should be coherent with this cost plan. You know, because this cost plan is, you will see how much money are we expecting to spend in this specific activity. So we budget less, not more money than the one that is expected, you know. So we will see it, but it should be the unreleased budget and released later on, and the cost plan should be coherent in the system. And what else? You will reporting some few issues, things that you have to know, but you will receive everything, and how to close a project. But we will see everything now in the system. So it's now 11, 6 past 11, or 10 past 11. We are back, so you have proper time to go to bathroom, to take a coffee. We will create our project in the system. Thanks a lot to everybody, and see you now.
Hi. Just in the meantime, to tell you that I just posted the link for the creation and maintenance of a standard project. So in case you want to wonder a little bit more on how you can create a project and the different levels and master data elements involved, it's over there.
Thank you, Danny. Thank you. So we are going to create this project that we have in the screen in Umoja system. This is a project for the protection of civilians in Somalia, and we'll have two main project definition, level 1, two main level 2, registration center of civilian and access to emergency shelter. This level 2 will have 4, let's say, sub-activities: construction cost, IT equipment and database, information campaign, and civilian registration cost. And for the civilian registration cost, we will even split it in 2 more activities or sub-activities: transportation, stipend of interviewers. And for the level 2, access to emergency shelter, it will be divided in 3 more concrete activities. That will be the procurement of tents, distribution costs, monitoring, and survey. This is the way how the project will look like in Umoja. This is how, you see, we have this check together. Let me do the screen a little bit smaller, for you to see everything together. So we have, this is the handout that you are going to receive for creating the exercise yourselves. Again, here we are. So we have 1 project definition and level 1, this one, 2 activities for level 2, 2 activities for level 2. You see, everything is properly created according with this structure of this hierarchy. So let's go into the system to create this project. You need a specific roles for project management. Yesterday, I think I already mentioned that GM users can create cost objects like internal orders, revenue and expenditures, but for the creation of the project and the WVSEs within the project, there are specific project roles. So let me log in now as a project management user. Where it is, my God. Okay, let me bring it here. So I'm going to log in as project management user. In the sets of credentials that you received yesterday, you have as well these ones for the project related. So here we are. There is a very specific T code to deal or to handle projects. This T code is CJ20N. CJ20N. Let me eyes here, as you can see. I'm going to explain now this main screen because it's very important, because you will have to work here. This is your workspace when you are going to create a project. We have 3 main sections in this screen. This is a project builder, and we have 3 main sections. We have here the structure tree area. Now it's empty because we didn't create or we are not displaying any project. But now during the process you will see how this is changing to show the structure of our project. The work list and templates area, here is where you can add components to the project or display recently created projects. You see here is already, the one that we are going to create is already created, but we are going to create it from scratch. And here we have the working area. Here is where all the information that needs to be settled in this project or WVSE elements within the project will be appearing. Okay, so let's go to create our project. Let's click on the Create button, and we are going to create a project. First thing that we have to tell the system, the definition of the project that we are going to create, because I already did it. Protection of civilian in Somalia. This is our project. Important things that we have to populate here. Control tab. Let's go to the Control tab. In the Control tab, we have to select the project profile. In this example, it's a non-capital project profile. Okay. So this is the type of project that we are going to create. Basic data. Compulsory information that we need. Responsible person of the program is the program management officer. Let me show you the different options. Program management officer. And applicant number, let's say in this example that it will be Umoja. Should appear, oh, it's not. Okay. So, start and end date of the project. Let's assume that this project is going to start 1st of November 2018 and will last up to the 1st of July of this 2019, for example. Okay. Organizational business area. Here we have business area is this example is 100. Organization business area and the organization functional area. This is going to be the same that we have been using for our RAM 0001. So I think everything is pre-populated from this information that we type. So this is we are creating now the definition of our project. As I mentioned before, mainly the description, and then the start and end date, and who is going to be responsible of this project. Okay, so what else? We are going to save this definition. Let's save it. Once we save, the project is automatically closed. Be careful with this because sometimes it's needed to save to check that what you are doing is correct, but as you have seen, the process has been closed. So I want to continue working on this process. I will come here, last project processed. This is mine, the one that I just created. I double click and the system will automatically load everything in the screen. So just let me do this smaller because what do we have now? Before this window was empty. Now we have the project definition created. Okay. So what do we want to do now? We want to add a level 1. We want to start creating. Let me show you again our project. We are going to create this level 1. This yellow is exactly the same to the project definition, but we needed to start, let's say, hanging sub-activities from here. So let's go and we'll add a WVS element to this definition. How to add WVS element? Here we have the components window. We have two options. We can select the father, let's say, of the next level where we want to hang the WVS element, and double click here, WVS element. Or we can select here and drag and drop here. You see? I'm going to, let's do it again. I'm going to hang this level 1 to this project definition. You don't see anything yet, but here the screen is changing. We have a new level, WVS element. As you can see, the ID is exactly the same as the ID of the project definition. So the description is going to be exactly the same as well. And we have to populate mainly the main information that we did in the substantive project non-capital. Here we have the responsible cost center. This is it will be 1 to 5, okay. And what else? Mainly I think that's it. And we have the first level created. You see now it's appearing here. You see we have the definition and the level 1. Okay. Let's go, before changing or adding more, let's say, sub-activities to this one, to the dates tab. The dates tab, we can say when this activity should start and work. We know it, if not. But this is important to keep a good tracking of the project. So let's say that it will start with the project the 1st of November 2019, and it's supposed to be finished by the 1st of July 2019. Okay. So the system is calculating the days, the duration of this activity. That is exactly the same as the project, because we are at the project definition level 1. And I think we can, with this information, we can move ahead. We are going to create first the structure, and later I will show you how to link this project with cost or budget elements, okay? Or to grants. But now we are going to create the structure. Let's go and see what do we have to create now. We have to create 2 level 2 nodes, calls, registration center of civilians, and access to emergency shelter. Okay, so let's go. How to add a sub-activity or sub-level under this one? Again, selecting here and double-clicking here, or dragging and dropping. You see, here we have now, because this you can check if what you are doing is correct very easily, because of the ID of the WVS element. The previous level was named 5441, now .01. We are adding a sub-level, and this is the first activity under this level. So this one should be called Registration Center of Civilian, because everything was previously created. Registration Center of Civilian. Okay. Again, project type, substantive project, non-capital. The priority can be set at this stage or not. You can leave it blank. We will say it's normal. And the responsible cost center is 11125. The responsible cost center could be different for each WVSE, but in this case, just for learning purposes, it's going to be the same for the whole WVSEs within the project. Okay. Once it has properly populated this information, it's created here, and it's important to add the dates as well. We will add exactly the same validity of the project, so let's say this one. Okay, and I think it's done. Let me save it. You will see what happens. I'm saving. Again, it's closed, as I mentioned before. So if I want to continue working, double click on it, and here we have the structure as we left it. Okay. So here we are. We need a second level 2 that is called. Let me check. access to emergency shelter. Very careful, be very careful now, guys, because now I want to work an object. I will open this individual object here, and I have all the objects that I can add, and I'm going to add a WVS element. Where? Be careful, because if I do this, the system will create a sub-activity inside this previous one. But I don't want this. I want an activity that will be at the same level of this one and will be hanging from this one. So I will select, let's say, the parent of this new activity, and I will drag and drop there. Is this clear? What I just explained, because if you made a mistake dragging and dropping, you will have later on problems, because it's not easy. I think it's not possible to delete WVSE elements. So sometimes you can have levels that you don't want to have, and sometimes you have to start from scratch. It's easier than to try to amend an already created structure. So again, how to double check that I am in the right point? I'm creating the second sum, it's okay, for this protection of civilian activity, the second sub-activity. So we are in the right place. This is called access to emergency shelter. Here it is. Project type, substantive project non-capital, priority, let's set it as normal. And the responsible cost center, that, as I mentioned, for training purposes, we will use the same for all the WVS elements. So here we are. We have our project definition, our level 1, that has two pending activities, depending activities or sub-activities that are this one, the first and the second activities under this one. So now let me go and show you the project. Again, we have to create a second level 2. Sorry, these two are already created. We have the definition, level 1, level 2, 2 activities. We are going to create 4 level 3 activities for this registration server of civilians level. Okay? Construction costs. So let's go. It's very, very repetitive. We are going to add a WVS element where? Let me check. Sorry, again, because I think I changed the name. Registration Center of Civilians, okay. Registration Center of Civilians, perfect. So here we are going to add a WVS element. We will select it first, and then drag and drop. Checking. Are we in the right place? Yes. We are going to create the first sub-activity under this one. Under this one. Okay? So let me double check again. It's called construction costs. So let's go here and construction cost. Very good. Project type again. This is again the same. So let me do it faster. So now you understand what I'm doing, I think. If not, please ask. You see? Now we have the first activity. I'm going to put the dates. Sorry. Here. The most important thing that you have to take into consideration here, apart from knowing which is the responsible cost center for each activity, this will be linked with our budget and with our funds later on, or projects or grants, we have to be very aware of where are we hanging what. Okay? Don't get lost with the structure. Okay. Next step, we have to add a brother, let's say, to this activity, to construction cost called IT equipment and database. So let's select the father, always the father, and let's drag here. You see? Checking. second activity under this previous one, correct? IT, equipment and database, substantics project, sorry, well, you can leave this one as urgent. Normal, a responsible cost center, dates, okay. So we have these two. Let's go to the father again. Let's drag and drop a new one that will be called information campaign. So information campaign here. I'm doing that faster now, guys, because I think you got it. Normal, responsible cost center, and the dates. I'm only populating the required, let's say, or main information that you need to populate to create the structure. Okay? And the last one, we will drag and drop up the fourth activity, depending on the previous one. Very well. This one is called civilian registration costs. So civilian registration costs. Any questions in the meantime, Danny? So you can see that the creation of the project is not a difficult thing.
Not really, yeah. Yes.
Everybody, yeah. So we have these four activities created. We are going to create the rest of level 3 activities that, if I remember well, are hanging under access to emergency shelter. You see these three: procurement of tents, distribution costs, and monitoring and survey. So let's go. Key point: select the father and drag and drop. I forget very easily. Procurement of tents. Okay. Procurement of tents. Again, non-capital, priority, let's say normal, 1000. Okay. A brother to this one, select the father and drag and drop. Second sub-activity of the previous one. So we are right. It's distribution costs, monitoring and survey. Distribution costs, non-capital, normal. Oh, sorry. Distribution costs. Okay. And the dates. Okay. And there is one missing. Select the father and drag and drop. That is monitoring and survey. Third son of the second level 2. Okay, so let's go. Monitoring and survey. So this is normal as well. Responsible cost centers and the dates. Okay, and now there is only one level 4 missing. That is called, two level 4 hanging under refugee registration cost. Let me confirm. Oh no, sorry, refugee, no, civilian registration cost, transportation and stipend of interviewers. So let's create this to level 4 WVSE and we will be done. So it's under civilians registration costs, as I mentioned before. Let's select the father. You can see here the structure of the project. Now when we will finish, or if you want, we can do this now. We can check with the hierarchy graphic button if what we are doing is correct. Because here it's difficult to follow, but it's more difficult to follow. It's exactly like this representation of the project. It's not as easier to follow as if you see the graphical representation. So here you have a button where you can display what you are doing. Okay. From my point of view, this is very easier to, or it's easier to check. Okay, we have the level 1 here to level 1. You see, everything is created, and 4 activities here, 3 activities here. So I think we are quite good. Let's go back because we have to finish. And under registration cost here, where it is, like or distribution cost, sorry. Yeah, let me check here in the definition. I cannot read the screen properly. Civilian registration costs. Civilian registration cost. Here it is. So this will be the father of our 2 next WVS elements. Checking first one of the 4th level 3 WVSE. Always a checking here, because as I mentioned before, if you have to amend a project, it's not an easy thing. So this one will be transportation. Here we are almost there. It's a little bit boring, this part, but yeah, it's repetitive. Just the creation of the structure. Later, all the work is coming. And that's it, the dates. Okay. And we will add the last one. Remember to select always the parent activity and this second activity hanging from the 4th. So we are right. This is the stipend of interviews. So project type normal. Sorry, substantive project, priority normal. And this is okay, and the dates. How to check that what we have done is what we wanted to do? You can follow here. Let me save it just in case. Sorry, invalidate. What it is? This one. Validation and successful. Oh, I did something wrong. So let's go. Troubleshooting. This last note, I think, WVS element for one, the 02. I think I did something wrong. Snippet of interviewers. This is correct. Basic data. What is wrong? Capitals, I think is okay. Let me check. Validation and successful. I don't know why. Which one? Which note? This one is correct. WVS element 0401. Let me check. Maybe it's the previous one, the one that is complaining. Normal. Sorry. I select the wrong type of project. You see? Substantive project non-capital. Let's check now. Yeah, we are there. Be careful. This is a very easy example of what can happen when you are doing repetitive work and you can make a mistake because you are not fully aware of what you are doing. You are not checking. So, but the system will help us to find out these problems. So here we have our structure, our project, and you can see from here you can open new levels or close levels, you see. So let's display the whole project. I think it looks quite well, but as I mentioned before, if you want to double check that it is properly done, we are going to go here to this view. And from here you can double click, see all the information of related to this WVSE, or expand levels or close levels. For example, you want to close this one. Let me see where it is. I don't see the buttons from here. Yeah, here you have a minus or a plus. A minus will close this level. I want to close this one as well. See, I'm closing. And now I can expand. I want to expand this one. But I want to expand this one. You can play with this to check that your hierarchical structure or the hierarchical structure of your project is properly created. Okay? So we have our project structure in the system, but we haven't assigned this project to any, to any grant, any funded program yet. So it's just created. So how to do this? This is the main thing. Let me go back. We are not going to do it now. I'm going to show you how to, but we are not going to do it now because we will do it in the next exercise when we will implement, let's say, a new grant, new contribution coming from donors, and then we will be requested in the donor agreement to invest this contribution in one specific activity for this specific project. So then is when we will link it, but I will show you how and where. So let's select, for example, this node, transportation, this WVS element. And here we only populated few information that we needed to create the structure, but we have many more things here. Let's go to the UN Assignments tab. Here we are. So you see, if you remember, when we were linking a grant to a sponsor program, we had to type the grant, the sponsor program, and the geographical region. So this works mainly in the same way. Okay. Here you can type a grant and a sponsor program for this activity. Maybe this activity at equipment and database will be funded by a different grant. So you will come here, you will type the proper grant, the proper sponsor program, because as we mentioned when we were explaining the project, this a project can have several grants or several contributions in the same project. So this is the way to assign, let's say, these different grants or sponsor programs involved. And very important as well, this here. You see that this comes pre-populated. You see, the budget control WVSE has been pre-populated by the system. So what the system has done, the system has created let's say, funded program related to the whole project, the top level WVS. Okay, even if we are in a lower activity, by default, the budget control WVS element funded program link to this is the top level. Why? What I explained before. By default, the budget would go to the whole project. Then you have more flexibility to spend it through. But this can be changed. You can say, no. This is the 0401. I want the budget up to this level or up to this level. And then the system will create a funded program linked to this. And then the money that you will assign to this one will be only spendable for this specific activity that you specify here. Okay, this is, let's say, the at funds management, in the funds management layer, and here is where we specify the grant layer that is linked as well. But you know, it's the two sides of the same thing. Here is we will link it to a grant. Okay, so let's leave it as defaulted like this, and I think, I don't know, do we have any questions up to this point? Because this project is not finished yet. We created the structure, but as I mentioned, we are going to see the next activity that we are going to do in the system. That is a very complex one, a framework 2. We are going to implement a framework 2. And this project that we have created will be funded, some of these activities will be funded with the contribution coming from these donors. And it's very important that you will do this exercise, the creation of this project yourselves in the system, because the third exercise that you have to accomplish will be related to this project as well. So you have to have it created in the system. So let me save the project before I will miss something. And any question before we start with the last activity of the training?
Yes, I posted a couple of links to the project Workspace for project management, so you can create or maintain, along with the documentation that will be sent to them. I think you put quite a few screenshots and a lot of information on how to go through all this part, right, for project for the creation of the project. And I included the basics in the chat, the basics of what you were doing. So we do not lose track. So basically, we created a project. I know it took quite a long time. It's complex, but we created a project, and now we are linking the project to the grant through the UN assignment tab. At the end of the day, this is what we are doing. Although the creation of the project itself, it's another, let's say, beast itself.
Yeah.
But so we cannot, in order not to lose really a track of what we're doing, it's basically the project we are now linking to the grant. And I guess that will be especially for Framework 2, right? When we do that. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. No, in fact, we can have projects involved in Framework 1, but for training purposes, we just taught you how to link a grant to an expenditures internal order. In this new example that we are going to see, we will see how to link it to one WVS element or some activity coming from an existing project, okay? As Danny mentioned. So this is the aim of this, and it's good for you how to know how to create the project itself. Okay, we have a question?
Yes, so now just Emil just wrote in the chat. She's wondering what would be the main difference between a project with the prefix SB, right, and a project with the prefix AA.
Wow, so to be honest, I don't really know the difference. David, do you know that this?
I think David's not around, but I think we will double check with that. But rings my bell. Rings the bell that it's related to the assets under construction. So AA, I think, is related if this project is involved in, let's say, the construction of an asset, then we have that prefix. But we will double check with you, Emil, and we will get back to you.
Yeah, we will get back because it's it's very probable because in assets under constructions now they are requesting to have everything tracked in their projects. So it's probably that that it is related with it. Anyway, for sure tomorrow we will come back to you with the answer. Okay. And something important, guys. I want in the handout that you are going to receive, you have very detailed how to create a cost planning. I can show you now if you want, but I don't know if you are interested in this because at the very end the cost planning is not impacting the budget. It's like the unreleased budget. So a kind of planning on how are we going to spend or to distribute our costs. So it is explained in the exercise that you will receive. You can do it by yourself. If you want, I can do it. It's up to you. But I think it's more important because we have still pending how to create a P grant, an R grant, an M grant. So I think it's more important to continue with the grants thing. Maybe if we have time at the very last day, we can create the cost planning. What do you think? Do you agree? Daniel, what do you think?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? So let me, it's 10 to 12. Just let me introduce the activity that we are going to do tomorrow. It will be a hard day. a really hard day. Because this one is even longer. This scenario, this agreement that we are going to implement in Umoja system is more complex. Let me share my screen. Be ready for tomorrow, coffees, and because it will be tough. This is our next exercise. Sorry, let me amend something because I changed it. I don't want to do it so. So, what are we going to do? We are going to implement a framework 2 in our grants management module, and this is what we are going to do. The Office of Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs has an approved project, the protection of civilians in Somalia. This is the project that we have just created in the system. Let's assume that it is created and approved. In fact, I think I didn't approve it, but I will do this before creating the UN assignment, before linking these WVSEs of this project to our grants. We will have to approve it, so I will show you how to do it in the system. So we have this project, okay, we have it, we have just created it, and it's partially funded by 2 governments, Government of Australia and Government of Denmark. I selected US dollars to make your life easier, or our life easier to create the scenario, but it could be in a different currency, okay? The donors require a reporting on pooled expenditures, okay? Moreover, this office has an interagency agreement with UNDP to implement part of the project. This is the amount that I will explain it deeper tomorrow. So we have a different scenario now, total new scenario. We have 2 donors that want to contribute to a project, to the specific activities of this project, protection of civilians in Somalia. And moreover, we have UNDP that will be our implementing partner that will help us with some of the activities within this project. Let's do the exercise that we did yesterday as well. First of all, which grants management and cost management master data are we going to create in the system? I need your help. I start as usual. Sorry. This should not come in the first place, but okay, it's a clue. You have the sponsor program and the project. The project is already created in the system, so we already have it. We will need to create a sponsor program to be the, let's say, the frame for our whole implementation. And which grants will we create in the system? Can anyone help me with this? Just feel free to type it in the chat. We will have to create several grants in this case. How many grants we will need to implement this scenario in our system? Is anyone answering, Danny? Let me open the mics. If it is not...
No, just... let's see. When you open the mic, what's going to happen?
Let me mute all. Okay, Emil, what is Emil answering?
She said we will need an RM1 for pooling funds and an MIG and a pass-through grant.
Perfect, but very good, Emil. But only one resource mobilization grant? How many resource mobilization grants we will need? R grants. We will need 1 per donor. This is perfect, your answer. So we will need, so let me display it here, very good. First question, how many donors do we have? We have 2. So we will need 2 R grants, independently if the contribution is in dollars or in a different currency. If we have more than 1 donors and they request report on pooled expenditures, we will need 1 grant per donor. So in this case, we will have to create in the system 2 resource mobilization grants. And in these grants, we will track the revenue coming from each donor. For this, we will need to create a revenue internal order per resource mobilization grant to receive these contributions into our system. And then we will need a resource mobilization grant to track all the expenditures related to this and link these 2 resource mobilization grants to the main implementation or M1 grant. Okay? So this is the master data that we will need. But what else? Up to here, let's recap. How many donors we have? 2. So 1 resource mobilization grant per donor. And why do we have only 1 main implementation grant? Why don't we have 2 main implementation grants? Because they require reporting on pooled expenditures. All these let's say implementations, all the air grants are linked to 1 unique main implementation grant, MIG grant. Okay.
So if in the scenario, instead of pooled funding will be non-pooled, or let's say not related to a pool funding, then we will have 2 M1 grants, 1 per donor.
In this case, we would have
S grant.
The contribution is in dollars, and as the S grant can track revenue and expenditures, we don't need an ME grant anymore. So we will have 2 S grants for let's say, report this contribution and expenditures independently for each one of the donors. So is this clear?
Yeah, and if I just share my experience in another UN entity, I was a donor officer at some point in UNHCR, and what Solid's saying about reporting is very, very, very important. Not only in terms of accountability, but at the end of the day, although it's going to be pool funding, each single donor will like, based on their requirements, a very comprehensive report of the expenses, and especially the dates and expenditures that we have incurred during the grant. And that's why when you see and you go down on the project, that you go very specifics on each of the items, so we control the expenses. That's really, really important, because if we do create a project, a very comprehensive with very detailed costing objects, then we will be able to report very easily with just 2-3 clicks in the system, and then the donor will be pleased in that regard, because if you do not convince the donor in terms of accountability, that contribution will probably not be repeated in the future. So the reporting part is of a paramount importance in a way, really. That's why I think you did great in order to really focus on the project, because the project at the end of the day, it's the funded program that you will have to report upon at the end of the day. So, over to you.
Thanks a lot, Daniel. Yeah. Thanks a lot for your contribution. Yes, it's very, in fact, I think one of the aims of this grants module is to be able to report in a more specific and a better way. So that's why we have to create these crazy structures in the system. And yeah, it's very, very, during the whole process, the reporting, we will see, I don't know if we will have time to see the reporting in this training, because we are running out of time, but hopefully at least the main reports, we can go through them. So just before finishing, we have 1 air grant per donor, 1 MIG grant, where we will track the expenditures of the project. You see, this is the part of the project that say that will be our cost object for expenditures, this part, a specific part of the project. But we mentioned that we have an implementing partner in place. So we need another grant, the P grant, and we will have in this project, as well, a WVS element, or some of them, or it depends on the agreement, that will be implemented by the implementing partner. And this is in this WVS where we will track the expenditures related to this implementing partner. Okay, so we have our revenue internal orders to track the revenues coming from both donors, and some WVS elements within this project to track, in some cases, some of the expenditures for this implementation of the grant, for this execution of the grant, and a different WVS element to track, the part related to the implementing partner. So our grants management objects and our cost objects. Okay?
Yes, so we have a question from Emil. He's wondering whether we have to create, or we have created, 2 R1 grants, while the scenario clearly mentioned that the contribution is done to a funding pool.
Yeah, because the expenditure is going to be tracked contributed to a funding pool. We are contributing it separately. We have to create 2 receivables in our accounting and in our system to track this revenue. That's why in the system is done in this way. To our grants, link each one of it to our revenue internal order. And you will see that these grants are very easy to create because their aim is only to track the revenue. Once we have the revenue in the system, we will work with the main implementation grant. That is the one that have the pooled amount together. Sorry, the expenditure, everything together here.
Because he's saying that why don't we have a 2S1, one for each donor instead of the R?
Yeah, because this is a tracking or a reporting issue, because the S grant is, as if you remember from the very first day, the simple grant can track revenue and expenditures. So when you want to report an S grant, a simple grant, you will track the expenditures only for this S grant, because it can track itself. I don't know if you understand. It's the kind of objects that we have created in the system. So for this pooled expenditures to report everything together, we need to have a grant that will collect, in a way, the expenditures of these 2 grants. In this way, it's difficult to understand. When we will create it in the system, I think you will get it better. So S grant itself is thought to be linked to only one donor and to report only for this donor. That's it. Okay? If we have more, this is the way to implement it in the system. Just let me show you guys this, and we go home. Go back to our tasks. This is the process that we will see tomorrow in the system. I will go through it carefully because it's very, very long. And all this process that we will explain will be performed in the system. Okay? So, if everything is okay, if you don't have further questions, we are going to stop here. Yep. Yeah, sorry. Thanks, Danny. Danny remind me that we are going to send you today the presentation of the project, even if we didn't cover everything, because you can read it. It's very easy, very summarized. Anyway, if you have any doubt, just come back to us. And we will send you as well the handout to create the project in the system. You have the credentials already sent from yesterday email. We added the project roles in these credentials. So you will have both things together. And tomorrow, when we will finish this big scenario, this big exercise, we will send you as well the handout for you to do it in the system. Okay? And really, once again, thanks a lot for your interest, for your questions, your contributions. You are donors in this training, our donors. And just giving us questions too, and feedback for us to improve our training. And thank you for doing the exercises, this is the best way of learning. I recommend you, even if you didn't attend to all the sessions, if you want to settle down all the knowledge that we are covering, it's very important that you do the exercises yourself. So thanks a lot, my dears. Thank you for your time, and see you tomorrow then. Okay?
See you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye.